Joining me now is Howard Kurtz, host of Media Buzz and author of Media Madness, Donald Trump, the Press, and the War Over the Truth. Howie, good evening to you. Will the network, CBS, will it stand by Moonves?
Well, for the moment, obviously, given that the board took no action today, but I've got to tell you, if these graphic allegations, as documented by Ronan Farrow in The New Yorker, were made against anybody below Moonves' level, that person would at least have been suspended, if not outright fired. When the Washington Post in November published those sexual harassment allegations against Charlie Rose, he was gone before you could blink, but of course Moonves runs the company.
We'll see what happens there. New details continue to come in. The network's standing by him, at least for now. We'll see if he keeps his job. Meanwhile, I want to ask you about the president and the publisher of the New York Times and this face-off over details in this secret meeting. Trump firing off this tweet on Sulzberger, had a very good and interesting meeting at the White House with A.G. Sulzberger, publisher of the New York Times, spent much time talking about the vast amounts of fake news being put out by the media and how that fake news has morphed into phrase enemy of the people said. Out of that meeting, then, the publisher of the New York Times responded, Howie, and he said this: I told the president directly that I thought his language was not just divisive, but increasingly dangerous. I told him that although the phrase fake news is untrue and harmful, I am far more concerned about his labeling journalists the enemy of the people. Instead, I implored him to reconsider his broader attacks on journalism, which I believe are dangerous and harmful to our country. What did you make of that exchange?
You mean this no longer so secret meeting? Well, look, when the president sort of tossed aside the off-the-record nature of the meeting by tweeting what he did, he kind of opened the door for A.G. Sulzberger, who's a 37-year-old rookie publisher at the Times, to challenge him. And now you have each side accusing the other essentially of risking people's lives, because you have Sulzberger saying enemy of the American people, fake news is increasing risk to journalists around the world. And you have the president coming back with a tweet storm in which he calls some journalists unpatriotic, which is akin to enemy of the people, for revealing the inner workings of government, kind of suggesting that national security secrets are being published unfairly. So what was intended, I think, as a session to sit down and kind of clear the air, let both sides vent, has, if anything, poisoned the atmosphere even more.
There was a moment I wanted to ask you about in the Oval Office today, and it was a moment after the president was finishing up with the Italian prime minister, and reporters were firing off their questions, as they do. And we know that there was a recent incident where someone was asked to not rejoin the group, the pool. Jim Acosta fired off questions, and a staffer at the White House. This is the exchange. I'll show it.
Why does Rudy Giuliani keep saying there is no crime in collusion?
Let's go.
Mr. President, do you think other countries...
And they were saying, it's time to go, Jim Acosta. What is the bigger picture here that we are seeing play out, Howie?
Well, it's no coincidence, but I mean, Jim Acosta has done this many times. He even shouted questions as an Easter egg roll. And I know people out there think it is absolutely rude for journalists to be shouting at the president that way. It was another CNN correspondent, Caitlin Collins, who got punished by being disinvited from an event last week. The White House is trying to send a message here about be respectful, especially in the Oval Office when there's another world leader there. But the reason, Sandra, that journalists keep shouting those questions is that oftentimes President Trump, more than some of his predecessors, will answer them. Even as his wranglers are saying, get out, time to go, thank you very much, press, he will answer. When he stops answering those questions, the incidence of the shouted questions will probably recede a bit.
And it's the job of those journalists to ask those questions as well. Howie Kurtz, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good night.